Hey everybody, so let's talk about the web developers wave. I wrote this article in response to a question that was put to me, so I figured I'd write a little article and then vlog about it. So what's the web developers wave? This is the flow of jobs that you can expect to get as a freelance developer, whether you be a PHP web developer, Ruby web developer, an iOS developer. What you're going to see is that jobs will come in waves, especially early on in your career. So you may spend 2-3 months to get a job. You may not have any jobs for a couple of months. You're like, oh boy, I got no work. And then all of a sudden you're going to get 3 jobs. And then you're going to be super busy. And then you're going to finish up the work. And then you're going to have no work for a month. This is normal. What you'll see as you get deeper and deeper into a career as a freelance developer is that the jobs come in waves. So with this in mind, there's a few strategies that you can adopt that will make your life a lot easier as a freelance developer. Before I go on though, let me point out, as your business as a freelancer becomes more mature, as you make more contacts, as you work with more and more clients, you're going to find that this wave will even out, meaning that you're going to have a steadier flow, slowly over time to the point where you're going to have too much work to deal with. Then you might have to outsource the work. You may have to hire other developers, or you can work on streamlining your workflow, which I'm going to talk about here. So with the web developers wave, or the developers wave in mind, in terms of inconsistent work, what you should always be doing is maybe putting about 5% of your time, even when you're on projects, you should spend about 5% of your time looking for new works, planting the seeds, if you will. So that means mention to friends, family, business acquaintances, random people that you run into on the street. Let people know what you do. You're open to new work. So you should be constantly farming for work, constantly working for work. This will help minimize and even out the wave, if you will. And again, one of the reasons you want to do this is because it just takes time for clients a lot of the time to get their game together. So what do I mean by that? So you may approach, or a client or prospective client may approach you about doing a job for them, whether it be build an iOS app, put up a WordPress-based site, create a custom app, whatever. And they may have great intentions and they want to do it, but as life and business is, there'll be many occasions where you'll meet with them a couple of times and say, okay, we're ready to go. And then you won't hear from them for 3 months or 6 months. And then they'll show up again, okay, we're ready to go now. That's just the way it goes. So you have to understand that there's going to be these periods between when you're ready to go and your client is not ready to go with a new project. So keep that in mind. With this web developers wave in mind, the other thing you have to consider is your cash. Now, I spoke about this. If you look up on YouTube, I have the FU Money, the FU Stash video. And what this means, especially as a freelancer, when you have no idea when you're going to get paid next, you don't know. You can get paid next week or you can get paid in 4 months. You don't know. So independent freelancers have to learn to manage their money especially well. And in my FU Stash video, I talk about having at least 6 months worth of living expenses in cash. This is separate from your long-term savings. I recommend really, to feel real good, a year or 2 worth of money on hand. And then you don't have to worry about the jobs. You can more easily manage your freelance career. Finally, step number 3, you also have to work on continuously streamlining your workflow. A good workflow means that you're going to be able to get the work done much more quickly, which will maximize your time and in the end increase your profitability. When you are an independent developer, ultimately you're selling your time. So you want to make the most money you can for your time. So workflows are huge. Now, an example of workflow optimization in the web world is to adopt a web framework. These days, you don't want to start building web apps or any type of apps from scratch. So in the PHP world, these days most people will go with Laravel. In the Ruby world, everybody goes with Rails. In the Python world, it might be Django or Flask, depending on the type of work you want to do. In the Java world, it would be Spring. The point is, by introducing a web framework, you'll be streamlining your workflow. And what the web framework will do, it will allow you to take care of a lot of common programming tasks like database access, authentication, messaging, task automation, so forth, very, very, very quickly. So this is hugely important in terms of your career as a freelancer. Besides the code workflows, you also have to work on developing a nice streamlined client management workflow. So you manage the communications, you manage the payment structures, etc., of your interaction with all your clients. Again, this will save you a lot of time. So there you go. If you want to read the article I wrote about this, it's on one of my sites, killerphp.com/articles/the-web-developers-wave, or you just go to the homepage of Killer PHP and look around the February timeframe, February 21st, the Web Developers Wave, and you'll be able to read about it in more detail if this interests you. And that's pretty much it. We'll talk soon.